What's up, people? Welcome to the Brian Reveal Show. First of all, let me say that I'm very excited to come back and kind of talk to you all about this topic because I think that, there's been a lot of conversations around, at least in my platform, and kind of just sharing this particular topic with everybody. I wanted to come and just kind of show everybody some talking points, materials, different things that I think that are going to help expand the conversation and some of the some of the talking points about the why behind this whole thing, right? I know for me, this is a very fascinating topic, and we'll get into it in just a second. But listen, it's so much going on right now. Just in the world. I hope everybody is safe. I hope everybody's staying protected. Also, I don't know. I just hope that everybody's kind of going into the end of the year with just a renewed focus, a renewed vision, and just hoping that everybody take your relatives, take your friends, grab them close, grab them tight, hug them, tell them you love them. We never know when we're gonna you know know that that's the last time we see someone. I've had so much unfortunate news and people that I know personally that have just left here because of COVID, and people that I know that have been affected by it. Please stay safe. I know right now this Delta is kicking ass, is wreaking havoc, and there's another variant that's not being discussed, which is the Lambda variant. So please make sure you're protected. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't want to, wear your mask and keep your ass in the house and stay social distance from people. So let's get right into it, y'all. No more time to waste. Tonight, and thinking about this topic and just kind of sharing some story, sharing some experiences. I have a guest that I want to bring on by the name of Bert. Bert is someone that I've had an opportunity. If you follow me, you know that I give psychic readings. If you've followed me even more closely, you know how much the paranormal is such a fascinating topic and subject matter for me. So, everybody, welcome to the Brian Reveal Show. Very first special guest, by the way, especially on this topic. And the brothers may be having some technical difficulty. He's going to come in, he's going to come out, or whatever. But Bert is someone that I've given a psychic reading to before, and he shared some things with me on this topic yesterday. And not now, but when you get a second, I want you to go back and kind of take a look at some experiences that he was able to bring to the table. So with that, Bert, you with us? You good?
Apologize about that. Yes, I'm
No
having some
problem.
technical difficulties, but it's nice
So
to
am
be here.
I.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Listen,
Yes.
I told everybody and gave everybody a light introduction. So tell everybody about yourself. How can people get to know Bert better?
Hello, everyone. My name is Bert. I am from Virginia. I'm 31, ready to be 32 this year. Um, Not really a lot about me. I'm a writer. I've been writing since I was about 6 years old. Um, I'm I wouldn't say religious as much, but I am very spiritual. I've grown up around religion and spirituality all my life. I'm very in tune with things, I guess I would be able to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But shout out to the comments and everybody, in particular, Mr. Broom. Which I'm gonna take that broom and hit his ass in the head with it because he got all the comments and jokes and everything like that. What's up, Chris? What's up, Gina? What's up, everybody in the
Hey,
comments?
Gina.
What's up, Gina? Y'all take the live, share the live. Again, this is a topic that I think is a little unorthodox, only because of the subject matter, and that's exactly where I wanted to start. Right? If you see the topic tonight, it's witchcraft and voodoo. Now, what inspired me to talk about this topic is because I was just, I was sitting around thinking as one tends to do, right? And I was thinking about like, wow, how have we gotten so far away from our ancestral roots? And what exactly are they, right? And when we think about, and when I was thinking about that and thinking about how our community as a whole has gotten so far away from our ancestral roots and how we've made such a significant departure, my thing is that there's certain elements of spiritualism and how, you know, we have made the paranormal something to be fearful of, something to be dismissive of, something to be you know, deemed as evil because we didn't do our own analysis, we didn't do our own research, we didn't look further into it. It was just a matter of, oh shit, well, you know, if the church is telling me or my parents are telling me and other people are telling me this and they say it's evil, they're dismissive about it, maybe I shouldn't pay attention to it, maybe it's not that important. And I also began to think about the Haitian Revolution, and I think probably because of what has happened in Haiti with the, you know, with the you know, with the earthquake and everything, just kind of thinking about the history of our people and, you know, Haiti's relationship with France and how Haiti has been in such dire straits for so long, and because it is in debt still after so many years, and being able to pay French back because of, you know, the revolution, and just kind of thinking about all of those things, you know, it led me to want to have this topic today, want to kind of just like have a deep dive and kind of wanted to explore it. So one of the things that, you know, for me that I want to do is lay the groundwork. Let's start it here with a definition so we can make it real plain for people. Bert, what is your definition, or if you had to give a definition of what voodoo and witchcraft are, even Wicca, what would you say? What would be your definition?
Wicca, I would say, and Wicca and witchcraft are the colonized version of voodoo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess that's how you would describe it. It's basically the same principles, and a lot of people don't really know it, but if they look into it historically, a lot of the things that you see in like Catholicism with the saints and the candles and all that good stuff that you see, that actually has its roots in voodoo. Um, but it's more so about the practices that people from Africa and the islands and the Victoria had. A lot of people don't even realize it, but a lot of those practices are still practiced in church and black churches today.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even realize it. I just one thing that's, for instance, an example is wearing white. You know, in black churches, wearing white is I guess like they do it on Pentecost Sunday and on different other things. They'll wear white, but I've did my research a long time ago and found out that that was what the voodoo people would do when they were ready to do some kind of ceremonies. They would just wear all white.
Right.
That's just something, and a lot of our superstitions that we have now as black people come from voodoo. Uh, don't walk under the ladder, step on a crack, breaking your mother's back.
Right. Which I tried. My
A
mother pissed
big
me off
one
one year, and I was
is
wearing that
don't
motherfucking
sweep someone's
thing out.
feet because
Right.
they will go to jail or they get a divorce. That's a really big one that a lot of
Right.
people don't even think about. Um, one thing, and then you can speak, Brian, is one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is if you've ever looked at videos of people dancing in Africa when they're doing like tribal dances and they're doing little spiritual rituals there, look at how they dance and then look at videos of praise breaks in the black church. It's basically the same thing. I found out that it's actually part of something called the rain dance that our forefathers brought over from Africa when they were slaves in the field, and they intermingled with Native Americans as well. They had their little version of the rain dance was a little two-step, and they would do that so it would rain, so they wouldn't have to work out in the fields.
Well, man, that's. Thank you for that introduction. That was a lot to unpack. You can hear me, right? We're
I
having
can't hear
technical
you, Brian.
difficulties. Okay, go out and come back in.
No,
Okay,
I can't hear you.
okay, go.
Can you hear me? Okay, so I can't hear you for some reason, but you can hear me.
Okay, go out and come back in.
You want me to go out and come back in? Okay, be right
Gotcha.
back.
Okay. And while he does that, everybody, he's working on a few technical difficulties here. So, a couple of different things, right? The way that I see it, and you know, the brother brought up a really good question. Isn't it two different things? Absolutely, it is two different things. Number one, when you look at, and I'm just giving a definition right now, Bert, my own definition. And again, we want to keep this high level. This is not a scholastic interpretation. This is very plain Jane, very high level. Wicca and witchcraft are more of a European reference, origin, and voodoo or voodoo, as it's known in Africa, our lineage, is much more of a totally separate, different type of practice. Wicca or witchcraft it doesn't have maybe I'm going to give you one example. It doesn't rely on the afterlife as sort of the core focus of the system. Whereas Vodun does reference several different spiritual principles, but the afterlife is a little bit more of a focal point in addition to several other different systems, right? For me personally, when I look at how those things have infiltrated themselves, because you brought up a really good point, the praise dances and how there's similarities between the praise dances and some of the other different customs that have been adopted here. I do think that is a little bit more of that DNA. Now it has been something that as the slaves and other different tribes have adapted and taken on those different practices and principles, we start to see how DNA, the importance of that actually is when it comes to spiritualism. So in my mind, it means that the departure is not that, it's not that far away. It's not that disconnected. But in order, I think, and since it already is there and since it already exists, now all we got to do is tap into it. Right. So it's transitioning to a little bit more of, okay, a definition. How do we tap into these things now that I think we've established it's safe to do so? Because if it was good enough for the people that are responsible, if it was good enough for the people that are the reason why we're here, it's got to be good enough for us, if not better, because we're not under that same exact physical oppressive nature. So when we look at how do we implement those things, and I got to get my battery and plug it in. When we look at what that is, can you tell us of the Gullah people and how they've sort of taken those different principles and adapted them?
I can tell from what I know.
Okay.
The people that are in South Carolina, the Gullah people, are very much still in with the ancestral practices. They do the thing where they will paint their porch haint blue, which is supposed to bring some kind of spiritual goodness to the house. They still do a lot of the ceremonies. They still go through, they do the sacrifices. The reason that I say this because I have had conversations with people that they still do the I'll just tell a story. Um, I had a person that I knew who was sick and it was really, really bad off, and their family didn't go to the doctor. Their family was the Gullah people there from South Carolina, and they did
Right.
some kind of ritual. They brought him home from the hospital, and they did some kind of ritual, and apparently it made him better. I have no idea what they did. He doesn't really either because he was half dead, but he just said that this is something that happened to him.
Wow.
If those people, and a lot of people don't may have heard this before, the Gullah people, My grandmother was from South Carolina. She was not Gullah, but she was from South Carolina, and she used to always tell me this because this was very prevalent in South Carolina. Never eat, if especially if you're just meeting someone, never eat a woman's spaghetti or their chili or anything red or like red beans and rice. And I asked her one time why, and she told me the stories of
It was more of like a
play out.
right. So it was more of like
Can you?
a. It was more of it was so the spaghetti because I've heard that from Southern people that
What it
yeah,
is women take their period
period.
blood and they will put it into the spaghetti or the chili or sloppy joe or what have you, and they will do that to control a man and keep them bound to them. The thing is, that is a very toxic practice. People don't understand that doing stuff like that will can very much backfire on you. You're basically taking away someone's free will to make them love you, and playing with somebody's free will can have major repercussions. There was a girl that did it, and she wound up driving her husband insane, and he could not take being away from her, and so he stalked her. It turned into like one of those fatal attraction things, and he wound up actually going crazy and killing her and then himself.
Wow.
So I always tell people, do like don't
Okay, let's talk
don't mess
about
with
that.
stuff.
Let's talk about that because as oppressed people, wouldn't we want to use these types of tenets for our liberation, which is in a sense, l- you know, dispelling the darkness.
You would think so. There are stories of people back in the 40s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and even into the 70s, where they had prominent people who were healers and things like that, who they would uh, black people. There was a guy, and I think he was in Detroit, and he was very prominent, and he had people black and white alike coming to him for good luck, for good fortune, for money, and things like that. There are certain practices that they instilled that you can still do, and it may bring you luck. One of them is um, if you tape a quarter to your door. You can do a quarter or a dollar bill or any kind of currency, and you tape it above your door. It's to ensure that money will always come into your house.
Mm.
That's one that I learned a long time ago. Another one was if you ever have a problem with spirits, to take two old forks and make them into the sign of the cross and wrap them up and keep it by your bed, and it will keep any kind of bad spirits away from you. That was something that my grandmother had told me a long time ago.
Okay.
Is it okay if I kind of go into my about this a little bit, or did you have another
Absolutely.
topic that you want? Okay,
Nope, nope, nope.
so
So everybody, so can I let me preface it first. One of the things that inspired me to not only do this show tonight, but inspired me to bring on Bert as a guest is Bert has a very unique experience in as it relates to the spiritual realm, and it has to do with. He's going to give you obviously more context, but it has to do with. Okay, now he'll be back in a second, having technical difficulties, but it really has to do with, um, in my opinion, density. Because as individuals and as people, we got to think about flesh and blood and all the things that are essential to be able to tap into some of these some of these experiences. So Bert, share with everybody some of the experiences that you've had
okay.
as it relates to the spiritual realm.
Okay, so I just want to start off by before I say anything else, I just want to let it be known I am a Christian, do believe in God and all that good stuff. So I just want to put that out there. I have always been very spiritually in tune since I was a little boy. Um, It's just something that's been going on with me. I didn't realize until I got older what it was. I had an imaginary friend um, named Michael who I would draw apparently, and that he was not only my best friend, but he was my guardian angel. And somebody said, "Well, what does he look like?" I remember one day I was telling my grandmother about it. She said, "Well, what does he look like?" I said, "Well, he's tall and he has really bright eyes and he has on this armor and he has really big wings and a sword." And he tells me that he's my friend and he's my guardian angel. I did not realize that because I like forgot about that until I was much older and someone told me about that. I have seen a lot of things. I have felt a lot of things. I saw somebody say something about the side chick, but yeah, I when I was a teenager, I dated a white girl, and she was into Wicca, and for about 3 to 6 months, I was into it. Um, I was maybe 13, 14 at the time. And I got into it with her and experienced and saw some things. And then after that, I kind of left it alone and never messed with it again. Um, I was telling you on the post, and Gina was asking about it. Um, they did a ritual. I did not know what it was at the time, but they did a ritual and they did a summoning and they opened a portal. And I was one of the few melanated people there. And they opened the portal and things started to come out. I'll never forget, it was like blue and gold and white. And it opened up and things that you probably should not see started coming out. They were scarier and more vivid than anything you can see in a horror movie. And they started coming out. And I hauled ass. And after that, I kind of swore that off. But because of because of that, and then my natural being in tune with things spiritual, um, I have had a very interesting life. I have seen angels. I have seen demons. I have seen incubuses, succubuses. I have seen a lot. I've seen, I can't think of it right now. Were demons or wolf demons, or you may call them a werewolf. I've seen those. I have seen skinwalkers. I have seen there's another one that's a kind of a version of a skinwalker, but I've seen that. I have seen spirits in the water. When I was a little boy, I used to do this thing and I didn't know what it was. Now, grandma used to always tell me I was special. I didn't. I guess she knew because I didn't. But I would do this thing when we would go fishing. Everybody else would be fishing, and I would stand over. I'd kneel down into the water, and I would talk to people in the water. And they'd always say, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm talking to the people in the water." They said, "There's nobody in the water." I said, "Yeah, there are." And I distinctly remember there were always people looking up at me. They weren't ever like evil or anything. They just were talking to me. I have had encounters with demonic spirits where I've woken up and there's been a 7 foot tall demon with a ram's head and fangs and glowing red eyes staring at me in broad daylight. I have had spirits one time where I was very sick and I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, could barely breathe, and I asked God for relief. And I woke up and I was home alone and there was someone sitting on the edge of the bed rubbing my leg, um, on all white, humming. There was somebody black. I just remember that. And when I tried to open my eyes to really see what was going on, they just said, "It's okay, go back to sleep." And then I woke up after that and I had never been that sick again. My mother was very sick one time. They thought that she was going to die. Doctor said that there was nothing that they could do. People had prayed for her. Nothing had happened. She had a fever of like 108 or something like that. So I took her hand and I prayed for her. And I distinctly remember asking God and all the angels, I said, whatever is binding her to sickness, release it. And then after that, she wasn't sick anymore.
Mm.
Um, I have a gift that was given to me by my grandfather where I can see people's deaths before they happen. Um, but when I say I see their deaths, I don't see like how they die. I just see what they look like in their casket. I saw it with a couple of friends of mine, or like older people when I was a child, and I would tell my parents about it, but they just shrugged it off. I saw it for all of my three grandparents that died in my lifetime. Um, my best friend, his name was Dante. He died and he lived in Florida, and I live in Virginia. I could not make it to his funeral. I felt so bad that I could not make it to see him to tell him goodbye. So I guess you was called astral projection. I
Hmm.
did that. I went to and I saw him in the casket and everything. I talked to a friend of ours who went to the funeral, and I asked him about the funeral. He said it was all right. And I asked him, I said, did he have on this color? And they said, yep. I said, did he have the casket this color? They said, yep. I said, they have a flower here, 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 there. And I described the flower in vivid detail. He said, yeah. I said, I thought you weren't there. I said, no, I wasn't there, but my spirit wanted the chance to say goodbye, and I got the chance to say goodbye.
Well,
Um,
so Bert, really quickly,
mhm.
let's tackle this question. Dante says, "Were you more spiritually sensitive as a kid?" He says, "As he know, as we age, society, religion instill fears about the supernatural that cause us to suppress certain gifts." So, what would you say about that?
Yes. Um, by the way, I can't hear you again, but I'm not going to close out because you can hear me. Um, I was very in tune spiritually as a child when I was a little boy. And it's just I didn't know what it was. Um, but I used to have conversations with what I now know were angels all the time. I used to I woke up one time I was levitating. I told Brian about this. I had levitated and my nose was touching the ceiling and then I floated down and I laid down. As I've gotten older, for a long time it was suppressed, but the older I've gotten now, it seems to be coming back. The most vivid experience that I have that I want to share is the experience that I had with my encounter with God or Jesus, whichever one you want to do. I was like 7 years old, and for this reason, I do not sleep in the dark. I was 7 years old, and I was on the top of my bunk bed that I shared with my grandfather, and it was the middle of winter, but it was so hot in the room, and I couldn't understand why it was hot. So I woke up, and maybe this far from me, kind of like this far from me, I saw a man. And I didn't realize what it was at first, but then my eyes adjusted. I put my glasses on and I saw it. And it was Jesus on the cross and very vivid. And he asked me for help. And he put his hand out to me and I touched him. That was when I guess my spiritual gifts really started kicking in after that. Um, I had that experience. I've never forgotten it, ever. Ever since that experience, things have been different for me. I got baptized when I was 4.5 years old, and they always talk about I did not go down in the water. I went down, but when I came up, the preacher couldn't hold me, and I floated on the top. And they always talk about it looked like I rocked back and forth by myself for about 3 minutes with no one holding me. So I've always been kind of connected with something spiritually, something bigger than myself. For a long time, I feared it. I did not want to tap into it. Now pray, I ask God for enlightenment, show me the way. I don't do any Wiccan practices. I don't do any of that stuff, but I do ask God, if I have a gift to show me what it's for, you
Mm.
know, to show me how to use it for the greater good and be able to tap into it. I have Native American blood in me. I have West Indian blood, Trinidadian. So I know that those people are very spiritual. So I asked God, I said, well, let me do it. I have seen death, Dante, and well, a version of death. Am I afraid? Am I afraid of how I'm going to die? You know, because I don't know how the hell I'm going to die. I don't know. Um, I don't know, but I've been to heaven when I was a child. I was 13. I've been to heaven when I was 13. I was 19 when I was 24, and when I was 30. I visited heaven. I've also seen hell. Um, and feel bad for anybody that's there because that's a very fucked up situation. But I don't fear death. Yes, because of that exact experience, Gina, I do not sleep in the dark. And because after that, my eyes were open to things on a spiritual level. So I do not. So I told Brian about this. Ever since that experience with seeing Jesus when I was a little boy, I have experience with things in the dark. Um, Sleep paralysis a lot, and I have to pray really hard for that to leave me alone. Um, I I've been attacked in my sleep. I've woke up and I've had a creature just last week, white eyes, white teeth, black, long black hair sitting on my chest, and I had to pray really hard to get it off. So I do not sleep in the dark. Um, I when I was dating the girl who was practicing Wicca, I did not actively like do anything. Like I didn't like cast spells. I didn't do like the blood shit that she did. What I did do was I was around it. And I think because I was around it and I was already spiritually sensitive, it just kind of kicked in from there. I will tell anybody if you do not know what you're messing with, don't fuck with it. Don't. Just the nicest way possible. Do not fuck with shit you don't fuck with. If any of y'all who grew up watching wrestling, Dusty Rhodes had a line that said, "Don't do shit you don't know how to do." So that's why I tell
Absolutely.
people, open up a portal, you will be fucked up. Ouija boards, that's real. Do not do that. That Bloody Mary, the mirror games, all that kind of stuff. Mirrors are portals to other dimensions. Do not mess with mirrors. Do not mess with stuff that has to deal with the woods. The nature is very powerful. People like to go out in the woods. That's why sometimes if you go out in nature and you meditate, you will connect with God in a way that you can't connect with them in your home. There are spirits in the woods. That's why a lot of people left the woods and came to civilization. So I would just say, be very careful.
What are your thoughts about other world religions? You speak from a Christian viewpoint. How do you feel about Buddhism, Hinduism, and any other practices? So while he, while he processes that because he's having technical difficulty, y'all, and I do apologize because I love where we're going with this conversation. Please feel free to share the live, share the live, share the live, like. I also have a YouTube page. Just type in the Brian Reveal Show. Go to my page and like my YouTube. All right. We're going to bring him back on and he's going to expound on that question a little bit more. What are your thoughts about other world religions? Speaking from a Christian viewpoint, but what do you think about and what do you feel about other religions?
There is only one true God. Basically, there's only one. But I think that other religions are just avenues that people use to try to explain their reality of God. There are certain tenets from anything, any civilization that you can learn, any religion you can learn how to meditate, how to be, in certain situations, be nonviolent. Um, every religion, especially the Abrahamic religions, which are Judaism and Christianity and Buddhism, they're basically, excuse me, Islam. I'm sorry.
Right.
um, they are all
Judaism
very
too.
much, they're all very much connected. It's just the same premise. But I will tell anyone, one thing that COVID has done for a lot of people, it has opened their eyes to find God in ways that are different than what it was. A lot of us, my grandparents were church officers. I grew up every Sunday in church. And if you did not go to church, it was a sin that you was not in church. I'm Baptist. So if you didn't go to church on Sunday morning when the doors opened up, you missed it, then that's just sin for God. But now people are realizing that you don't have to be in the church building to have an experience with God, because you are the church. When God says he's coming back for a church without a spot or a wrinkle, it doesn't mean he's coming back for the building, because the building's fucked up. He's coming back for you. There, I know there that like Buddhism has like their laws and things like that. I've never really expounded a lot into them into that, but every religion in some way is just their way of getting connected to God. People call him different things. Native Americans just call him the Big Spirit, or they call him the Spirit. Some people refer to him as the universe or stuff like that, but it's all just God, who is a actual being, and he is very much watching. He's concerned. So is Jesus. Was an actual factual person. But what I will tell people is, don't be afraid to dig deeper in. And
You're
for the
breaking up,
longest
brother.
time,
Yep.
I was taught things. And can you not hear me?
Okay, I can now. I can now. Yes.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
It's probably the topic.
It
It's your
seems
fucking
like for some
demons.
reason,
It's your demons.
when I was on my computer, I don't know. I guess the spirit realm. I guess the Lord is telling me just
It's
not
your
talk
demons.
too
It ain't
much.
got shit to do with
But what?
me. I'm
Hmm?
clear.
You're good. You're good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's one thing I will tell you. Don't be afraid to look into your own heart and build a personal relationship with God, because your relationship with God is going to be more important than your relationship with church. Because when you die, he's not going to ask you, what did you do for the church? He's going to ask you, what did you do for me? How did you connect with me? Um, the people who do like voodoo and stuff, they do different ways to connect to him. I had a conversation with an old woman one time who said that they didn't do church. They did church at home, because she talked about how back she was, maybe this was like in the 90s, and she was probably close to 100. She said before they had church buildings, they did church at home. They had altars at home where they prayed to God in their home. And a lot, that is something that you find prevalent in hoodoo or voodoo. They have altars. That's just another connection. I know it is. It's because it's all about being spiritual.
Mm.
Um, you know, and I know that it kind of skewed off, but when you get into talking about things in the spiritual realm, when you get into talking about um spells and potions and rituals and stuff, you wind up segueing into Christianity, because if you have you how many of y'all have ever taken communion?
Yeah. Put it in the
Brian, have you ever
comments.
taken communion before
Have I
in
taken
church?
communion? So I'm gonna answer that question, and I'm
Now
gonna.
remember, I can't hear you. So
So go
yes
out.
or no. So
That's how,
you
this is our
okay.
exactly. Go out. So this is
Hmm.
our symbol. Um,
Okay, hold
so
on.
while he goes out and comes back in, everybody, listen. I know for me personally, just to answer his question, communion. I always thought it was interesting that even as a kid, when I was told that little wafer would be or representative of what the flesh of Christ, and that little apple juice, which I always that apple juice was good as hell. I don't know about
It's
y'all, but I was like it was like liquor. I appreciated the grapefruit juice, right? That was supposed to be representative of blood of Christ. Got it.
it's
Even in
grape
that
juice and
aspect,
wine.
well, okay. Even in that aspect, brother, I have to say it was very much to me like it was something symbolic. It was something of witchcraft, if you really want to break it down, because that is ritualistic. And I don't think that people like to look at it in those terms because it's very uncomfortable for people to associate the two, even though by definition, that's exactly what it is. Now, to go back on some of the other points that you mentioned, and this is the question that Dante posed. Dante said that, how do I feel about other world religions? Well, first of all, there's 4,200 religions, to be clear. I don't think that any one of them are one way to be, to show up in the world, because each one of them borrow from each other. Each one of them have to do more so with politics than spiritualism. I think and even when I say politically, from a social organization, social order, and from just ways that you can show up in the world as an individual with other relationships that you are developing and that you want to foster. I think that, those religions are really good forms of expression to point you into a higher way of being. In my listening to people, in my observation about history and humanity, in my observation about social revolution and evolution, I think that the only way that you really get to whatever that spiritualism is for you is through silence, atonement, and just like perfect being in nature, being in some of these organic, natural environments that give us the opportunity to connect with all that there is. They give us the opportunity to connect with, what some people like to define or describe as God. Now, I noticed that, in the Christian definition, God is assigned a gender, right? How can and this is my personal definition, because I really do think that how we all experience God is really the true expression of what it is. Because if you say it is all, or this entity is all, then no one is ever going to have a definition that is going to be alike because of how we each experience what that is. Some people experience it through religion. Some people experience it through sex. Some people experience it through music and art and all of these other different things that this entity shows up in. I experience it based on when I choose to access it. I know it is available. And as a person who's very sensitive to energy, I can tell you that whatever that is, I feel it. I can sense that there's something that is bigger than me. I'm not so caught up in myself that I can't necessarily say that, oh, well, that's it. That's all. It's nothing else. No, I feel it. I feel it. I feel that there is more than, just me and my existence. And even on a vibratory level, I could feel it because we're all energetic beings and we all have our own ways of experiencing life and reality. But I definitely think in order for us to be able to experience God, we have to understand the different levels. And each level is always evolving. I could tell you right now, since I got into meditation, I've become more sensitive to energy. I've become more sensitive to awareness. I've become more sensitive to reality and really experiencing life on a deeper level. And for me, it really fucked with me at first, to be frank. It really did. Because prior to like meditation, and that's another thing. If you're not ready for meditation, don't do it. Because I think that you talk about portals. Well, that's one Tory level. So we talk about portals, we talk about ways that we could experience life in a much more deeper dynamic way. Be ready for it. I think having a teacher is also extremely important. Not somebody who, a bootleg version of what we like to call an expert, but people who have really people who are the person you want to model yourself after, because I think that's the greatest teacher, is according to how high you call yourself to be as an individual with integrity. If you want to experience that next level of teaching, find someone that you look up to and that you want to model your, not copy, but really model yourself after in terms of a higher way of being. Just sort of looking deeper into that person to really see the example, to really see that demonstration, and you will be, you have a greater insight of becoming that you which you seek to gravitate towards. Now, I want to get onto the voodoo thing for a second, because you also mentioned how people are leveraging it, potions and different spells and incantations and things like that. So one second,
Yes.
wait, one second. I think that for me, you have to choose, and this is my experience. Are you a light worker, or are you a person who wants to work that darkness? And now, this is not something that is specific and unique to good versus evil, because I do think that we have to look at polarity. My thing is, it's all based on your intention. If your intention is to liberate and inspire and empower and all of these different things that are going to elevate whatever your purpose is, walk in that. But if you're a person, you're shiesty, well, tell me what the winning lottery numbers are. That's some low level bullshit, right? So and I'm happy I don't have my gift for that, because number one, if I could tell myself a lot winning lottery numbers, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I'm just telling you, I would say fuck y'all, and I will go on about my business.
Now, you say that.
Go ahead.
I've met a woman one time. She told me what numbers to play, and I didn't pay them any mind. She said, play these numbers. I said, okay. At the time, I wasn't playing numbers, and then I didn't think nothing of it. She's like, something is telling. She's like how she said it was like, my spirit is telling me to play these numbers. Okay. I'm telling you, I said, okay. I did not play the numbers. Had I played the numbers, I would have hit for Mega Millions. So there are some people who could do that. But what you're saying is very true. Your intentions. There are people who use stuff for good, and there are people who use stuff for bad. It is all about your intention, and it's about your heart. But what people don't understand is when you do, it's just like with anything else. When you do something bad to someone, or for someone else, to someone else, for someone else, it has a way of getting back to you. You really should not want to practice the business of cursing people, of doing evil, hateful, wicked things to them. There are people who will sick demons on people just because they want you. There was a story that I was told a long time ago about this woman who wanted this woman who wanted this man that was married. Can't get worse out. And she did some stuff to her, and the woman wound up dying. And the old lady told the husband, said, your wife didn't get sick and die. Somebody put something on your wife. And she sprinkled something on the porch and said, all on the property, said, the person who did it will not be able to set foot on your porch. Said they wanted you, but your wife was in the way. Now watch what happened. They won't be able to do it. He didn't believe it. Day of the funeral come pass. Next door neighbor comes over. Hey, I'm so sorry for you. I know you loved, we're just gonna call her Hazel. We know you loved Hazel so much and everything. He said, yeah, thank you. You always been nice. Why don't you come on in the house, sit down, talk. And when she tried to put her foot on the porch, she couldn't do it. Every time she went to put her, she stood like down at the bottom of the porch. When she went to put her foot on the step, she couldn't do it. He said that in the lady tried to get on the porch, you see her start to sweat. It said, what's wrong with you? No, I'm fine. Tried to step on the porch again. Tried to put a hand on that. She couldn't do it. She said, and the old lady came out and said, this is who did something to your wife right here. Say you practice something dark to try to get this woman's husband, but now you can't get him, because he's protected. Yeah,
Mm.
she hexed her. I don't know what the old woman did to drive the woman crazy in the first place, but I know that she wound up passing away. And then the lady did something else to the house and said, you won't be able to come over here. And because you did this to this lady, it's gonna be done double to you. She wound up dying within 2 weeks.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wind up so yeah, you have to be careful.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you pray. You don't ever want to pray for something bad to happen to someone. You know. My grandma used to always tell me, if you have a problem with somebody, don't pray for anything bad to happen to them. Pray for God to either move them or move you out the way, because somebody got to get some relief.
And
You
trust
pray
me, I
on
tried that.
something.
That works. It does work because I've had to try that with a few people in my life. One person in particular, this was back when I used to practice Christianity, right? But I did that. And when I have to, when I tell y'all that the person was gone within 2 weeks, up out of here. So there's something to that. There's something to that. But I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't know if did I say apple juice? Dante, did I say apple juice? I meant to say grapefruit juice, which I thought I said, because in my mind I could see that it's actually like purple solution. But my bad. That's how long I've been out of the church. So, charge it to my heart.
No, it's fine. I saw that, but I did want to say something else about a parallel between like religion and kind of like this whole magical thing.
Okay.
And Gina, you are going to know what I'm talking about, especially if you're in church. In church, they call it speaking it into existence. They call it naming it and claiming it. They call it speaking it into the atmosphere. In the spiritual world, people call it manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
That people do vision boards now, or they say you write. That's basically what it is. Write it down and make it plain and all that stuff. It's just manifesting. If you say, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and I want a brand new Mercedes, and I want a man or I want a woman that makes $500,000 a year. If you write that down and you pray over it, they're telling you you're doing naming and claiming from a religion aspect. From the spiritual aspect, you're seeing manifesting. There are people who keep manifestation journals where they write down every day what they want to happen until it happens. There are people who do that in the spirit world, and there are people who do that in church. They will say, I'm going to keep on praying. I'm going to keep on speaking and believing it and naming and claiming until what I want comes into fruition. It's the same thing. It's just called something different.
Wow. Okay. And and for me, the way that I look at it is a spiritual way of doing what our ancestors have done. The only difference is that we have, which I'm very, very, I've become a lot more enlightened to. Um, Even the Bible says gods, let us create man. So obviously, in my mind, that's more than the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, basically, right? Just kind of doing a deeper dive on it. I do think that, each group of people have a set group of overseers or not the ultimate universal God, but maybe, but some people, I don't know, maybe some people call them angels, maybe some people call them guardian angels, talk about that.
Some and
Right. So while he's coming back, and we're going to wrap this up, everybody, because it looks like the
call them.
technical difficulties. Are you back with us? Are you back with us? Can you hear?
Can you hear me?
I can, yes.
You can hear me. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the connection thing, but for some reason, every time, yeah, it's me. It's me. I have a little brother who streams all day long.
Tell them to
And it's
turn that
probably
shit off.
probably messing with the
This is
internet.
the Brian Reveal show.
Um, but here's what I was going to say about that. In the spirit world, a lot of people call them ancestors. In the church world, people call them guardian angels. But you do have something looking out for you. God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, and his infinite wisdom gives you something to look out for you. You are all, it's like you ever been by yourself, but you feel like you're not by yourself. It's because the somebody is always looking out for you. I had a girl that I went to school with. She was in a really bad accident. She wrecked her car. She was over in a ditch on the side of the road. She was by herself. She was near death. And the cars were driving by and they saw her. When she got better, the woman, she asked the woman, said, why, how did you find me? She said, well, you had a group of people who were in the car and standing outside the car waving, yelling for us to come and save you. She said, I was in the car by myself. It was two cars of people. They told the same story. They said there were a group of people who were in the car, standing around outside the car. They were waving, they were yelling, they were at the road yelling for us to save you because you needed to be saved. She said that, ever since then, she always thanks God for her guardian angels, her guardian spirits, for whatever, for saving her. She said,
Right.
because if not, it could have been the other way. But something, sometimes in certain situations, you will experience things. God will send a sign to let you know that you matter. I'm gonna just share a story about myself. I one time was you kind of talked about this one time, but one I was walking at night in an area I didn't really, and there were some people who were watching me, and they wound up following me at a distance, but then they left, and I never understood why. And I wound up seeing them later on, and they said, "Hey, man, I got a question for you." I said, what? I said, "What kind of dogs do you have?" I said, I don't have any dogs." Said, "Yeah, you said I'm gonna be honest with you. We saw you walking. We was gonna rob you." Said, "But you had these really big dogs walking with you." I don't own any dogs. I said, really? Said, "Yeah, you had these big." He said, "I don't know what kind of dogs they were, but they were real big, and one was on one side and one was on the other side, and they just." He said, "It's first like you was walking by yourself, and it's like they came out of nowhere, and they just got on each side of you. And when you were walking, you weren't paying us no attention, but they kept looking back." I said, "Sir, I don't have any dogs. Like, bruh, I have no dogs at all." So that was when I knew that, God spared my life, looked out for me in a situation. Um, they could have, they legit told me to my face, "Hey man, we were gonna rob you. We were gonna jack your shit." And
Wow.
I didn't know it. I just knew that I was like, "Lord, just let me get to where I got to get safe." Walking, I made it safe, and I never knew why until I saw them a couple of weeks later. And I said, "Yeah, we was ready to rob you and take your stuff, but these dogs came out of nowhere, and they was just protect. They was right there. They looked at us and they showed their teeth, and we said nope." So,
Wow.
never be afraid to ask. If you're afraid, never be afraid to ask God, your spirit, whatever you want to call it, for help. There is kind of like Catholics have those necklaces
The
that
rosary
have
beads.
Not the bees, not like this. They have necklaces with the saints on them. They're like Saint Michael
Oh
and
yeah, the
thing
ones that
like
keep the
Raphael,
cocaine
the
in.
angels on it. Yeah, you have like on the right here,
Yeah.
and they like it's supposed to protect you, it's supposed to save you and keep you safe from all that stuff. Um, it's just like a good luck charm.
Right.
You know, take they'd always try to tell you in there was, you know, you hear stories of people telling you, you know, here, take this, let me give you this, and it will protect you from anything bad or whatever. You know, it's basically the same principle.
Yeah.
You will see that, and you will see prayer beads that came from Catholicism. You'll see that, and that's also found in, I think, Buddhism or Hinduism, where they also have beads that they use for prayer and things like that. But we were supposed to do 30 minutes. We've been here an hour. But
Yeah.
yeah, just
Yeah. Wrap us
how
up.
can I say
Wrap us
this?
up.
There's so much in this world that people do not know. From a spiritual level. There's so and if your eyes are closed to it, be happy. Because when God, the universe, whatever, open your eyes to it, when you see the things like I have seen, when you know you're not the same anymore. Gina asked me last night on your post about you know, mentally how I was. I'm fine, but it's a lot to carry. It's kind of like people who are empaths. When you're a or sensitive, I know a lot of people hate that word, but or it people call it being touched or having a gift. When you can see things, you can feel people's emotions or see their auras or stuff like that. It can weigh on you.
Oh my God,
When
like you wouldn't believe.
I can't, you know, I'm not an empath. I'm not, thank God. I'm not an empath. Um, but you know, I remember all those old women who did all those like superstition, you know, had all those superstitions, all that stuff, and they would always say, you know, you have the gift. Or, you know, I need to go see Shirley in the nursing home because I don't think she's gonna be here more much longer. To go see Shirley, and then next day Shirley dead. Stuff like that. You know, you can pick up on you can pick up on stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, it's very real. Our ancestors were very much in tune to things. Look at the pyramids in Egypt. Pyramids are perfectly aligned with the stars. Nowhere, the only the closest thing that has that in Europe is Stonehenge. But a lot of our stuff in Africa from the it's not called the motherland for nothing. Life began there. It has the most nutrients, the most resources, and it has the most it's the most spiritually connected place. And we as black people are the most spiritually connected people. That's why you can tap into it. Not only spiritually but physically. That's why the fastest people in the world are black. Because they're able to tap into that and put it into different ways. God will give has given everybody a gift. You just have to figure out what your gift is, how to use it. Some people use witchcraft to tap into it. Some people use voodoo to tap into it. Um, People use different avenues to tap into it. But what I will say is, with voodoo, witchcraft, Wicca, all that, it's something that if you get into, tread very carefully, tread very lightly. It is not for the weak of heart. People get runes like the Celtic people and the Nordic people did. They would cast runes and bones to tell your fortune. They will or you know, the people who read tea leaves or and stuff like that, or laying on hands and stuff trying to see people's stuff. You can tap into it different ways. And here's something else. I learned this from church and from old women who I guess they were really into like voodoo and stuff. Don't let everybody lay hands on you. Do not let everybody touch you. And
Or pray
everybody
for you.
don't have sex with everybody. Don't kiss everybody. Don't let everybody in your house. Because some people have some shit attached to them, and if they kiss you, if they touch you, if they hold you, if they have sex with you, if they come into your house, if they come into your car, they can transfer everything that they have, and
Which
it
is
will
important.
affect you.
Which is important. Why I think that when it comes to spiritual baths, right? There are some good shamans in our community that have, I think some people call it's that black soap. And there's some other different oils and potions and things like that that we can use, because a lot of that stuff, like, we can cleanse from our energy and our aura. The other thing is the Reiki, like the Reiki techniques that are used to release and let go of some of that energy as well. Those Reiki treatments, to tap into that as well, but have it done by a professional. Obviously, you don't want to get it from YouTube. You're gonna be fucked up. So let a professional
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. You don't want to. It's kind of like if your house is possessed by evil spirit, you can cast it out. But sometimes it's best to get a professional, like a somebody who's been blessed, or a priest, or a minister, a real one, not one of these people who just wake up and make a title for themselves so they can feel important in church because they're not important in real life. You need somebody who's really touched, that's going to have some power with them to cast some stuff out.
So
But
no Creflo
yes,
dollars, no Creflo
oh,
dollars, no Paula Whites. No, you'll probably need a
my
spiritual bath after being in their church.
yeah,
I'm just saying.
my grandma told me, and the old folks in church used to say this when I was a little boy: never let everybody pray for you. Never let everybody lay hands on you, because you don't know what kind of shit they got with them.
Right.
Somebody may lay hands on you and say, "Lord, whatever's wrong with them, cast it out of them." They may be trying to cast the good out of you and cast the evil from them into you. So you have to be careful. Um, you know, like if you've ever seen old people who have stuff hanging around the house like horseshoes, or they may have things hanging over their doors, it's to keep bad things out. If you want to know if somebody is good for you or not, this is you can do it. Just for I'll just take it from a Christian perspective. You can pray. If somebody has any evil intention, let it happen. Let me show me a sign, or let them not be able to come into something. You ever had somebody who you really like, and maybe you invite them to your house, and then they leave quick. They don't get comfortable.
No,
You ever
not
had some,
really.
you ever had somebody who just didn't get they were around you for a long time and they got uncomfortable?
Oh, that's everybody. I think,
So
I'm
I'm
not
I'm
saying,
gonna
because I think that Bert, I think that I'm a legit person, but I do think, because I am so I do think that my sensitivity does radiate with, number
Mhm.
one, the things that I'm able to pick up on, because my psychic ability, I do think that some people are, they are able to kind of pick that up, because, like, I
Yeah.
may look at a person and they're like, okay, shit, like, what the fuck, like, I can't look at this guy, he's gonna drive me crazy. I do get that sometimes, and I can sense that that's the case. There was a maintenance guy in my home today, and I could tell that as I was in look eye contact, he was a little uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? Because he's like, okay, this guy can, like, see right through me. I can sense that with people. So I can tell you that sometimes that does happen, but it tends to happen, or people are more aware of that, aware of my ability, because they're obviously in that same realm as well. But
Mm,
we're gonna make one more point, because we gotta I want to close out, because I want to do an after
okay,
show after this. So go
that's
ahead.
fine. Oh, okay. Oh, so this like my pardon shot and stuff.
Yeah, you
Okay,
got to close
yeah.
out, brother. It's been an hour.
I know. So we'll have to maybe I'll come on again for like
Oh,
another
absolutely. We're
discussion.
definitely going to do a
But
deeper dive.
what I want to say is this: don't be afraid to look into things, especially when it comes to your heritage, our heritage as Black people. But be careful. You know, there are certain doors that you do not want to open. One thing I would tell anybody is do not study demonology. There are books, there are cursed books that if you read them, it opens up a portal and you are fucked.
Mm,
Don't mess, like I said, don't do shit you don't know how to do, but don't be afraid to look inside of yourself and say, God, or whatever you want to call it, the universe, if there's more that I need to know or that about myself, about my people that I want to know, show me the avenues, what the steps that I can take, or put the right people in my path so I can find out things that I need to know that will enlighten me but would not harm me. You know, don't just be looking in this, don't just like go to a random voodoo shop or look up some stuff on Reddit or everything, because you'll wind up like that girl who tried to summon Papa Legba and he killed her. And that's not going to be very good for you at all. But if you don't know who Papa Legba is, just look him up. Um, but don't be afraid to look into things and delve deeper spiritually, both from a Christian standpoint, get closer to God, get closer to the universe, get closer to your source, because you're surrounded by God, you're surrounded by energy, by nature, by all that stuff. And if you ask to tap into it, you will find what you're looking for. That's my
absolutely.
last word.
Okay. And I'm gonna, before I use, my last few moments to close out. Dante says, does or can voodoo or witchcraft work on a non-believer? My experience, absolutely. Just like there are people who are Christians who don't believe or practice anything about voodoo or Wicca. Yes, it works. It has nothing to do with, because it's an energetic vibratory intention and release, and in really an investment in the outcome. It really doesn't have anything to do with that. There are some people that are basically like, okay, well, I think from a belief standpoint, on a surface level, belief and tenet level, right? So let's say, for example, I'm a Buddhist, but I'm praying for you, and as a Christian. No, no, because those rituals are so deeply rooted that I think what we are conscious of is only surface level. We have, which is the reason why Bert said what he said. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do it. Don't do it. That has nothing to do whether they believe in it or not, because it happens. Um, and here's the thing: chanting, very, very powerful as well. So if you don't know what you're chanting, don't do it. Chanting is probably, I think, probably one of the most powerful ways to manifest that we have, because the universe and sound is vibratory. And I'm going to talk, that's going to be one of my later topics. But, and closing out the show tonight, everybody, first of all, Bert, thank you for coming on. You've been an incredible guest. I cannot wait until you are able to come on, share some more content, because this was very surface level. I intended it to be that way. And we're going to go deep. But to kind of close everything out tonight, not to repeat or recap everything that Bert has said, everyone, but I just want to challenge everybody to do your research. Do your research. And just because you may read something, and just because you may do an analysis and a background, cross-referencing certain things, does not mean that you are worshiping, you are taking into an account, because I understand that we're providing you with information, but when you are leading into something with intention, that's what the spiritual realm recognizes. You having a thought, you just basically kind of singing up here just willy nilly, I understand the fact of being careful, but intention is really, really what is going to cause things to manifest, even on a minute level. So be careful about your intentions, because if you're trying to be reckless, if you're trying to be whimsical, there are beings and entities out there that got a much deeper sense of humor than you do, and you don't want to find out what their sense of humor is based on. So with that, before I say my final good night at everybody, let me say that after this, please go to my page, the Brian Reveal Show, or actually, you know what? Come to my personal page, Brian Reveals, because I want to do an after show on this and just kind of just not only just, release this topic, but also kind of talk about some other stuff that's going on. If you all want to come to my page, check it out. And I will, again, just kind of, at least until my second season starts, which is May 2022. I do want to kind of bring, these one-off scenarios where we can kind of talk and keep the conversation going until we come back for the second season. Go to my YouTube page, just type in the Brian Reveal Show. I'm also now on TikTok. I ain't doing nothing special on there, but hey, as I continue to expand my platform, you'll find me in a lot more different formats. And of course, go to my website, brianreveals.com. And also, because I will be doing psychic readings on Patreon, go to patreon.com/The Brian Reveal Show. Everybody have a good night. Again, Bert, thank you for coming on. And
Not a problem, man.
we are out. Good night.